Hello and welcome back with the promise of more Super Mario 64 Star Road. We're already done with this stage, by the way, which means that we're done with the entire lower area of the Star Leap Tower. I don't know, by the way, I don't know what this star is doing here. Like, that's it. Not even kidding, that's the entire star. That's the final star of this. It's a bit way too incredibly simply, but whatever. So last time I promised you to talk a bit more about how this sort of thing in game design that people are always fucking up so horribly all the time. By the way, I've gotten all the stuff. Let me actually make sure. Yeah, I'm completely done with that. And I mentioned two examples on how to tell gameplay, how to tell story while gameplay is happening, which is Bastion. Absolutely great, phenomenal job at doing that. And how to absolutely fail at telling a story and having gameplay alongside it that actually makes sense and is consistent with itself, which was Metroid Other M, which was completely inconsistent between the tone of the cutscenes and the tone of the actual gameplay. By the way, this is a quicksand, which is why this is pretty stupid. I'm trying to use kicks more here, but sometimes I feel like I'm actually going to do a dive instead, like that, and that's pretty bad. Kicks are better when you want to go upwards and not alongside something. Oh wow. Oh, there it was. So now that I've mentioned the what I meant with just in general how you can and cannot do it, let's talk a bit about, like I promised on. Oh my god, can I not? I can talk so much easier if I can actually get through this. There's some games that also tell a story through gameplay. Now, what do I mean with story through gameplay? Now, you've probably had this thing where it's like, man, it's hard for me to actually understand what the character is feeling, because the character is just a fucking guy on screen. How do you know what Mario is feeling right now, other than he's apparently happy, I guess, because he's being pretty, vocal about it? But apart from that, do you know what his aspirations are, his dreams? Like, yeah, obviously you can't really go into that. And it's really hard to actually try and make you, as a player, feel any of that. Like, how are you supposed to feel that by just having a controller in your hand and have stuff happen on screen? To actually understand that on a deeper level, other than cutscenes. And remember, cutscenes, in most cases, are actually really bad. They're okay as like an intro or an outro, because that's like the two places in the game where you're not playing, the intro and the outro. That's like, you start a game, by not playing, obviously, you don't press the power button and instantly start playing, what the fuck. And the ending, because at some point the game is over, gameplay-wise, but when the game is over gameplay-wise, does maybe not mean that game is over like story-wise. Obviously, there may be some other stuff that happens. So yeah, these are the two places where it makes absolute sense to have cutscenes, but cutscenes can totally be avoided in pretty much any other point. So what do you do instead? Oh. What do you do instead to actually make sure the player understands the story? And most importantly, if you want to make something that really goes like right beneath the skin, a story that makes people go have like the manly feels. If you want to have like a story that makes people have the feels, man, you're gonna have to do some really sorcery, but it is possible. Okay, but I'm gonna have to stop talking about that for a little bit, because usually this is where the boss fight is in a regular Mario game. But this hack does something different. It just have Bowser like talking to you through some picture, and it just gives you like a battlefield, and then in that battlefield you have to do something specific in order to be successful. In this case, it's getting rid of all these piranha plants, which can be a pain in the ass. Mostly because these fucking Shy Guys are ruining my day. Anyway, so I'm gonna have to kill all the piranha plants and then I get the key for the next area of the game. That's what I want to go on about this place. And I think it's really cool that they were like, I guess we figured like game designers at some point figured out how it was possible to make it so Bowser doesn't have to give you the key. You can get the key through any other stuff maybe. And after they figured that out, they went like, hey, maybe we can do like a completely different thing about that. Have the player do something different in order to get the key. And they figured that, oh, maybe we have player fight something. But maybe let's not him quite let him fight Bowser. Let's make him fight, I don't know, maybe a big bully later on. That's gonna happen. I am trying to do this really fancy jump here, but it's a bit weird. One more time. Okay, fuck this. This wall is crazy. And I think that's a really cool gameplay idea, where they had this idea, let's not make it Bowser, and they actually made it work, and that's really commendable. Not many games even go so far as to even attempt something like this, and to succeed at it as well as this game did, really nice. So, now back to the other discussion. So, how can you actually make the player feel anything that the character is feeling via just having a controller in your hand and have stuff happen on the screen according to what you press? So, one of the greatest examples of that, by the way, I shook that guy's ass, is Mega Man X. So, if you've played the intro stage to Mega Man X, absolutely awesome, great intro stage. It allows you to feel what Mega Man is feeling without having to give you a cutscene telling you. So, in the intro of Mega Man X, you just started the game, you don't quite know maybe how the game works. Maybe you've played some Mega Mans before in your life, but you're not quite sure how this new Mega Man works. It looks completely different, it has new mechanics and everything. So how does this game work? I don't know. So you get to the first boss fight, and at that point, you're like, okay, it's just a boss, he doesn't have a health bar, and that's a bit weird, whatever, let's fight him. But you realize pretty quickly that, oh my god, this guy, he's wrecking me. I can't do anything to him, he just absolutely butt blasts me. And he just whittles my health lower and lower. No matter what I do, I can't do anything to him. And at some point he just grabs you, and you're like, oh fucking god. I'm like I'm 1 HP, this guy just grabbed my ass. Whoops, what the fuck did I just do? This guy just grabbed my ass. Oh my god, I'm so dead. And that's the feeling that you get, not by having a cutscene of Mega Man getting destroyed. No. You actually feel it while playing it, that, oh my god, this guy is really powerful and he's destroying me, and holy shit. It's so weird. By the way, I don't know what I'm doing right now, I'm just looking around. I know there's a turret here that someone gives you a star. Actually, I know where he is. Nah, I'm gonna have to get there. I think it's up here. That's an extremely nice example of how that can happen. And you've probably had something like this in other games as well, where maybe most of the times in RPGs, where you fight a boss, and then it feels like, oh my god, I can't fight this boss. Is this scripted? This is probably the question that you've asked yourself as well at some point maybe. Is this scripted? And it's usually a question that pops up at that point as well. Sorry. And the thing is, sometimes it feels like, oh, it's scripted, whatever, just let me continue on with the game. But there's plenty of times where it actually feels really good to have this fight like that, and you're not going like, oh my god, it's scripted, just let me continue on with the game. Just let me lose so I continue on. And actually some places where you can do some really nice stuff with that. Okay, where do I go again? Oh, over here. Secret star. It does depend on how well you execute. Like I said earlier, it's really hard to actually make gameplay, story through gameplay happen correctly. But doing it with like the sort of unwinnable fight that you have to lose is one of those ways. And if it's done correctly, it can be really powerful. It can make you feel like, oh my god, I'm actually not a super cool, awesome dude. And that's actually really interesting, because in most games, the game tries to make you think like, hey, you're that awesome dude, aren't you? Yeah, you're that super cool dude who kills everyone. and has like no problems doing anything. Oh, maybe you're not that strong yet, but you can still like kill everything, no problems. Like most games kind of want to make you feel that way. But it doesn't have to be that way. By the way, you can somehow glitch through this wall right here. Something like that. Yeah, I just did that. I've only seen it in a speedrun, and apparently it's really easy. It's really, if you just see something in a speedrun and you do it right away, then it must mean it's really fucking easy. Problem is I don't know where to go from here, because I know, yep, the warp happens. I didn't warp myself correctly. How do I warp myself to where I want to warp? I think I want to warp over somewhere over here. Not quite. I want to try this just for shits and giggles. So yeah, it does always come around to how well can you execute it. Oh, can I even do this? This should be possible somewhere around here. To not get into the ship and instead get into the other part. Ah, there you go. That's where I want to go. By the way, this is the underwater stage. It's actually pretty good for an underwater stage, I have to admit. So, what other ways are there apart from having like the unwinnable fight? You could still have, well, it doesn't have to be unwinnable or anything of the sort. It could also maybe be an unlosable fight, though usually it doesn't come across that well, because how do you make an unlosable fight actually feel interesting? Because really, if the player thinks of himself highly, then he'll be like, oh yeah, obviously I can't lose anyway, because I'm so good. Oh, I need to get this. This saves fucking 3 minutes getting the star like this. I'm gonna show you why this saves 3 minutes, or like 2 minutes. So another way, there's like this, how do you make an unwinnable fight work? So, most of the time, players at this point won't even realize it's an unwinnable fight. So if you've played Final Fantasy VII and you've gotten to the final fight of the game, I don't mean the actual fights against Sephiroth where he's like angel and shit. Oh, it's not here on this stage. On the right star, there's a boat here, and that boat, if you jump on it, goes onto like a cruise around the rocks here. Then some fly guys that try and bump you off, and after you've gone for like 2 minutes of cruise, then you get the star over there. But doing it like I did just saves so much time. So, doing it that way with makes it just so much easier. So, at the end of Final Fantasy VII, there's this little sequence that happens after you've defeated the physical manifestation of Sephiroth, where... oh, by the way, I'm gonna have to mention this. There's a secret star right here that you... It's not a secret, there's a star you can get from looking at a treasure map, and that treasure map shows you where the secret is hidden, and it shows you an X next to this thing. So that's how you know this is here. Okay, so at the end of Final Fantasy VII, there's this little sequence where you look into Cloud's mind, and in Cloud's mind he has to fight against Sephiroth one last time. Now Sephiroth dies in one hit, and if he attacks you, he can't kill you. He can't kill you if he attacks you, and you kill him in one hit. And if he attacks you, you immediately counterattack, even if you haven't got the counterattack materia. And if you've got Omni Slash, you immediately get the Omni Slash limit off. So, what does this have to do with now the story? So, if you're just playing this, you might be like, oh, I'm just so good, I just happen to be powerful enough to one-shot him, ha 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 ha. And it kind of misses the point completely. I'm pretty sure the point at this point is supposed to be that Cloud, after everything he's done, all the things he's been through, all the hardships he's been through, he's finally gotten to that one point where he's finally triumphed over Sephiroth, and he's finally able to banish Sephiroth out of his mind and like get closure from him. And that's really important, because getting closure from his feud with Sephiroth and putting everything that happened behind him is really integral point to the story of Final Fantasy VII. So having this unwinnable, unlosable fight at the end of Final Fantasy VII actually serves really well in that, like, Sephiroth no longer has power over you. Holy shit, that was way too high. like surfing out of no longer as far as you are, and you feel that like I cannot lose this fight. But like I said, it's really hard to actually understand that this is what's going on. It's here, isn't it? Yeah. So that's one of those points where I guess it's well made, but just by definition it just can't work out. It's really sad. 8 red coins? No precision swimming. 8 red coins in this map are pretty stupid because it's underwater, but whatever. So that's how you can also do it with an unlosable fight. Is there some, maybe there are some other ways to do it as well. Now, there's a game, also Final Fantasy VII, not quite though, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. In the very, okay, spoiler alert, the guy dies. Well, he's not, well, you know he dies in Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VII is like 20 years old or something, so yeah, the guy, Final Crisis Core, you pretty much know he dies from the start. Anyway, at the very end, the thing is how he dies is you fought like the final boss and then you carry like your wounded friend, who happens to be Cloud, somewhere off and you're like, man, we can never go back. We've done some really horrible shit, we've pissed off the wrong people, what the fuck are we gonna do? And then what happens is he gets surrounded by like 100 soldiers. So he puts down his friend and he's like, okay, I have nothing to lose, fuck this, I'm gonna take you guys on. Already this is a really desperate scene at this point, but what happens is really interesting in gameplay, showing that Square Enix can actually make interesting gameplay coupled with story. Yes, I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy XIII Trilogy. Your gameplay had nothing to do with the story, and the story was absolutely horrible and stupid, and there were no points where the story was connected with gameplay. I fucking hated that trilogy because of that. The gameplay itself was awesome though. It just didn't have anything to do with the story, and the story was shit. Anyway. So at the end of Crisis Core, after that, she like despairs and is like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill these 100 soldiers, screw you guys. You get into this fight scene. Now they could have easily made it this a cutscene, but no, because Square knows better. They don't make this shit a cutscene, they make this gameplay. The fight starts, you're on one side, you're surrounded by fucking 100 soldiers, and you just keep slashing. You run around like a fucking madman, activate all your skills, and just slaughter the shit out of them. But the thing is, while that is happening, you're taking like so many hits right in the face. You just keep getting hit over and over and over. Holy shit, you're just taking a battering here. And you can see how your health gets lower and lower, like, okay, I'm on 2000 health, oh shit, I'm on 1500 health. It keeps dropping lower, but you don't give up. No, you don't give up. You just keep fucking slaughtering all of them. I don't want to start the star, by the way, so I'm just gonna stay here and talk for the rest of the part. So if you want to hear that, just stay in. If you don't want to hear that, go to the next part. So you just stay in there, you slaughter all of them, and some really awesome thing happens where the lower you get, at some points, you just get slower and slower, and your screen turns like darker and like starts flashing red on the sides as it happens when you're low HP. And you can also see that around you, all of the soldiers, they get less and less, like fewer and fewer soldiers everywhere. But you also at the same time you also get slower and slower, and your attacks, they don't do as much damage anymore. You can barely swing your sword anymore, and when you're down to like 5 soldiers, then you're on like 1 HP, and you can barely lift your sword anymore. You just stumble from one enemy to the next, barely being able to like stay on your feet anymore, and they still keep shooting you and shooting you. And even though you're on 1 HP, you do realize that you're still somehow taking damage. You're just not dying, and that's one of the things that's like really awesome. Being on 1 HP, still taking damage, and then without a text popping up like, nah, don't you see that you're not dying? Or having a cutscene going like, oh my god, this guy can't die. But just seeing it in gameplay, that you're still staggering around, killing people while on 1 HP and taking damage, that's how you portray story in gameplay. So you stagger around while on 1 HP, while bleeding from every fucking orifice in your body, being on 1 HP, your screen flashing. The music even gets more silent, I think, at that point. Not quite sure, but I think the music even goes silent at that point. And you just finish off the last guy, and the guy just fucking falls over. And that's such a fucking awesome scene. And people were, if you look at the scene for that, people are gonna be like, oh my god, I fucking cried at this, like, oh my god, this was so powerful. And it really is, and I think it's not just because of what is happening, like a guy getting shot and then dies, and he passes this legacy on to his best friend at that point. That's not. I don't think that was quite why people were so moved by it. I think it's just because if you play it yourself and actually play that fight, it just completely grabs you. It just completely grabs you in just the right way, and it doesn't even use words for that. Okay, there might be some in there, but it doesn't need words for it, and it's just so incredibly powerful. If you haven't played Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, well, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII and Crisis Core, you should play both of them. First Final Fantasy VII, then Crisis Core. That's usually better. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about right now. I know I've gone over time quite a lot, but this was like something that I had to mention because I think this is like one of the best moments in game design history, I would even say. So yeah, that was that. See you guys next time.